Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all doing really good today. We're going to take a look at this Blues Junior today. We're actually going to put it back together. I already recapped the amp with new capacitors, filter caps. I bought a kit, and I'll show you all that information in a second, tell you where I got it. And we're going to put a new input and output transformer on this today as well. These are all upgrade versions of these packs too. So I'll give you all that information as we get going here, and I'll tell you where everything came from and where you can get it, okay? Don't call this number up here. This is nothing to do with me. It's just a piece of memorabilia that I collected. It actually came from Pennsylvania. It was a famous shop in Pennsylvania. They're closed, so don't call the number. They used to sell high-end antiques and like high-end vintage instruments from what I read. Anyway, it landed here in Maine somehow. We don't know how, but anyway, let's get into the Blues Junior and we'll get our hands dirty. Let's do it. Okay guys, here we are on the old bench again. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in. Actually, I'm going to take you right out of the stand here. These are the caps that I reinstalled, and I just put some hot glue in between them and some hot glue under them just so they don't move around and that kind of thing. And that's just a good idea and good practice. Now, these ones came from Barbo Amplification. I bought these on YouTube. These are an upgrade. These are rated for 500 volt, and the originals are in here, which were rated for 450 volts. Okay, there you go. So I did test these caps, and they were leaking a little bit. They wasn't, crazy, but they were leaking. So the values had gone up is what I'm getting at. So I think it's a good idea just to change them. We're right here. It's not a big expense. I think these are $30 maybe. They're not bad. So in any case, we put new caps in it. Now we're going to change the transformers. So let's take a look at those. Okay, so you got an input transformer and you have an output transformer. And this is numbered, okay, so you can get replacement stuff, that coincides with the numbers, okay? So keep that in mind. And this is a green circuit board version of this amp, okay? They made different ones, so I'm not positive if these are all the same or if they're all typical, what have you. So let's take a look at the new ones. Okay, so here's the new output. These all came from MOJO Tone, okay? And these are supposed to be upgrades. Same thing. They're numbered and stuff, so we got direct replacements here, which is great. So that's the output one right here. Let's check out the input one. Okay, so we're going to open this box. There's the part number. And this is going to be for the input transformer. All right. Whoops, sorry about that, folks. Let's see what we got here and make sure they sent us the right one. It's always good to check that first, right? Okay, so get everything out of the box. It's nice and heavy, I can tell you that. A lot of wire wrapped around these little buggers, that's for sure. Okay. Put my razor blade away, so. Now the input transformer was smoking on this amp, and this is why we're doing these mods to it, because we don't want it to destroy anything else. As soon as it started smoking, I shut it off. The amp came in just for a service, and yeah, here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna check these numbers out real quick. Okay, so the numbers that are stamped on here are not the same as the numbers stamped on the top of the original one. And there's nothing stamped here, but on the box, they did put this number, which is the number on the top of the original, and they have MOJO 780. So I looked on this, and it says MOJO 780. These numbers do not match this, but it looks to be an identical replacement. Same amount of wires and the whole thing. So I think we're good to go here. And same with this one here. This one is the same thing. The numbers do coincide, so I think we're in good shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one at a time, one wire at a time, more than likely, so we don't get confused. Let's get into it. I would like to add this too. The new transformers come with bare wires, so you're going to have to crimp on a spade connector, because these are all, they all plug in with spade connectors. So make sure you get some spade connectors before you get going. All right, so we're going to start with this one, the output. And there's two screws here that hold it. What I like to do is take something like this. This used to be like a vegetable platter, okay? It's got a bunch of different compartments in it, like you'd buy, at the store, and you'd have dip in the middle, that whole thing. So it works good for stuff like this. You can separate things and keep them, where they belong, which is pretty handy. This can get to be a lot to remember at times when you're doing this kind of stuff. So, all right, it looks like we're freed up here. So what we got to do now is flip this over. Okay, so there's a little cable tie here. I'm going to snip that and get it out of the way. Be careful, pulling on these wires. I do have this little circuit board right here that's, for these two jacks. It's unhooked because I need to get at some of these connections, and the first one being this green wire. So I previously removed this when I was doing the cap job, okay? So it's still apart, and I just wanted to add that. Now, be careful of these ribbon cables. Don't be messing around with them too much. Now, I do have this circuit board pulled out, and what happens is all these potentiometers right here have to go back out through all these holes. It's quite a job to get that out, and like I said, you break one of these, forget it. So be very careful. If you don't know what you're doing, don't mess around with this stuff, and certainly don't mess around with this. You can get electrocuted and really jolted bad off some of these capacitors. I don't recommend trying this unless you've been doing this a while, okay? Don't copy what I'm doing. I'm just kind of demonstrating this, all right? So let's get back to it. I don't want to scare everybody away. So the first thing I'm going to do is find out where this green wire goes. Just by pulling on it gently, okay? So I know it goes to here. And it does not want to come off there very well, so. All right, I'm going to get something to pry that loose. Okay, so what I did here, I took my little wire cutters, right? And I went on one side of that spade connector and just rolled it up. I did the same thing to the other one. Just easy. You don't have to do it very hard, and it slid right off, okay? Just a little tip for you. All right, so we just unhooked the green wire. Okay, you can see a green wire and a black wire here, right? So we need to find the black one. And I'm going to put a box under this to support it so it doesn't flop around. Now I've traced the black one out and it goes to the same circuit board, okay? Same thing, the spade connectors on there really tight. So what I'm going to do is just take my little cutters and go ahead and just roll those out a little bit, and boom, slides right off. Okay, so remember, we got the green one on the top and the black one on the bottom. And, you know, you can write this stuff down if you'd like, whatever helps you. Obviously, I have a video here that I can refer to, but I'm doing this stuff mostly in real time. I don't edit any videos. When you see a break in the video, it's just me hitting the pause button and maybe setting the camera up or grabbing a tool, okay? You know, I don't like editing videos. I don't know how to edit videos, so this is how I go about this. So it's all pretty much done in real time. I don't want to bore you with me looking for tools, so I usually pause it or if I have to change the camera. Okay, I just wanted to make that known so you guys know what's going on here. Okay, and so remember, we got green on the top, black on the bottom. It doesn't hurt to mark this stuff. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get those wires pushed down through. And there's a rubber grommet under here, okay? And again, be really careful. Don't let that get hooked on another wire or on the bottom of the circuit board where it's going to pull something else out. That's the thing with working with circuit boards, guys. It's, you know, one mishap and you could be in really big trouble. Okay, so again, just take everything slow. Don't yank too hard on the stuff. All right, so now what I'm going to do is flip this back up. We have a red, a brown, and a blue, okay? So let's find those, all right? I got another wire tie here. I can see a red, brown, and blue right down in there. Okay, so I'm going to snip this cable tie. Be really careful when you snip these two. You can really very easily snip a wire. So just take your time. All right. Make sure you get them cable ties out of there. What's left, you don't want that stuff flopping around in there and whatnot. Okay, so we have the red wire here. We have the brown wire and the blue wire, okay? So let's unhook those. Red wire. Again, these are really on that board some tough. So I'm going to have to take my little cutters here. I'm going to stick it on one side of the spade connector. I'm just going to roll it out a little bit, and that should allow it to slide out of there really easy. That's important because you don't want to pull on these circuit boards too hard. You can break connections just by flexing them and make the solder joints weak or cold. Or have the effects of a cold solder joint, I should say. So I'm not even going to try these. I'm just going to bend the ear out, at least one of them, because that's about all I can get at here. So we got a blue and a brown. All right. So remember, red, blue, and brown. Got that. Okay. Again, you got to pull these out one at a time. That's just how this goes. Not always easy. And sometimes these grommets that they put them through may have been installed and then the wires pushed through, and then they put the spades on. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I did get one through, so these other two should go through a little easier, I'm hoping. But again, I'm trying not to disrupt anything if I can help it. Okay. And there we have it. That one's out. So the next move will be to put some spade connectors on the new one. Get the wires pushed up through, or I could actually probably do it once the wires are pushed up through there and put the connectors on. I think that's the route I'm going to take. I think it'll be a little easier. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so we're putting some spade connectors on these wires and getting them crimped on and ready to go. I always check them, give them a little tug test, make sure they don't move at all. You don't want this stuff flopping around, obviously. So, okay. So we got green on top, remember? And the black goes on the bottom. Okay, so those are back. We'll be able to hook that back up. Now we got the red, the brown, and the blue. Okay, so that's just how they're gonna go, if I remember right. If not, then I may have to refer to this video before I put it back together completely. Just, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but so I might not bore you with the actual reassembly of putting the bolts and screws back in the amp, but because I may need to watch the video. It would be a shame to put this all back together and no go, right? Okay, so get the brown one on. We should be looking pretty good. Okay, again, check every single one of them. You can shrink tube them if you like. You shouldn't have to. If these go on correctly, they're not going to move around after the fact. So again, don't force these on, just push them on. You know, with as little effort as it takes. So it was red, brown, and blue, right? See if you guys can remember too. Okay, so those are all on good. Everything feels right and tight. And I'll double check this one. That one's on. It doesn't look like it's fully on, but then again, look at the other one. So yeah, we're good. Okay, so that takes care of the output transformer. Now we got to change this one. So let's get to that next. Okay, so this time I'm going to just quickly map out these wires as a brown, a brown. I'm going to have to figure out which ones are which too, as far as that goes. And then we have two greens, and a green, and there's a red and another red. Okay, so we got two reds, two browns, two greens, and there's also a black wire over here, and there's a white wire that comes over to the switch. So that's just my quick little map that I'm gonna kind of refer to as we go on here. Okay, so let's get it unbolted. Okay, so what I've decided to do here, since all the work is done underneath and I don't need to snake any wires under there, I've decided to reinstall the circuit board, and I'm going to put a few screws in it so that way it's intact and it stays in place. There is a little trick to this I found out. So really the hardest thing is to push the circuit board back and duck it under this lip, because this lip comes back out over and the knobs are going to hit. So you have to push these wires down, the ones that we just ran for the output transformer. You have to kind of bend those down, and you can't have this installed when you do it. You put this in afterwards. And that's the only way I could find to do it without destroying this thing. So again, these are the screws that go in, and they just go right back in these little black little standees that kind of keep the circuit board. These little black things that you put the screws in, they keep the circuit board up off the bottom of the chassis. And the screws just go right down through them, and that's where they stay. So again, I just want to get this step done so that way everything isn't, you know, moving around and jostling around while I'm doing the rest of it. You know, you don't want to flip this thing upside down any more than you have to with the circuit board hanging the way it is. So I'm at the point, like I said, where I can reinstall the bolts that hold it in, and I just think it's a good time to do it. So make sure everything's lined up good. You don't have to over tighten these, just snug them up, you know. And that's the best bet. Just kind of make them all the same tension. Okay, so those are all in. And no, there's one more right down here I gotta get. So I'm gonna put this one in next. This one's a little tricky to get to, but there we go. Okay. All right, let's press on. I'm gonna get this removed, and then we'll snake these wires out. I gotta trace these out too, so I'm not really sure if it matters. I can't really remember off the top of my head if these browns make a difference if they're flipped. I'm thinking it does. To me, it looks like there may be writing on one wire and not on the other. I'm going to look into that. So I got to clip this next zip tie right here. Okay. Now that little piece goes to your jewel lamp. You're going to have to put that back in. If you're this deep, you've already taken it out. So I did do a video on this too as well, guys, on how to get to this point and remove the circuit board, how to recap it. I already did that. So if you want to go back and refer to that, you can. Okay, so I'm going to get this unbolted and see if I can trace these wires down. Okay, once you get the nuts off the back side of this, okay, there's some little nuts that go in between the transformer and the chassis, and there's some little rubber sleeves that go on the heads of these bolts. Make sure you don't lose that stuff because you're going to need it to put the other one in. Okay, so this is the plan right here. This is how I'm going to approach this, just so I don't get screwed up. Now, here's the new transformer right here, okay? And you can see, if I can spin it around, you have a red wire. I know where the black and whites go. We'll look at that again. Then you have a brown wire, and two greens. It's the same thing on this one. So what I'm going to do is trace out this first red wire I come to, and that's where I'm going to hook this first red wire I come to, because that is going to be orientated exactly the same, okay? That way you don't get screwed up. So what you do is you find that red wire, give it a little push, make sure it's, because these are twisted, just make sure you're dealing with the right one. And these new ones have a lot of wire on them, so you can put your connector on, snake the wire up through, unplug this one, plug that one right on, and then there's no confusion, okay? So that's what we're going to do. And again, you got to put spade connectors on the new one. All right, here we go. If you can't figure it out which one it is because they're twisted, unplug it and Just unplug the wire, snake it through all the coils, and make sure that is the first one you come into. Okay? Again, that'll take the guesswork out. Okay, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to crimp on my first red wire on the new transformer. First one I come to, it's orientated the same. So what I'm going to do is run this wire up through the hole, just like that, and I'm going to put it right where it goes. Okay? Yeah, you can probably twist these up afterwards, but I'm not going to mess with that because, well, I suppose I could. After I get them all plugged in, I could actually spin the transformer and then bolt it up in. So that's what we're going to do. Sometimes you got to make it up as you go. Okay, guys, let's press on. Oh, okay, guys. Well, we got her all back together. Everything went really good. We don't have any leftover parts. That's always a good thing, right? Don't you hate that when you put something together and there's like one piece left? Like, oh, I know where that goes, but not the case. We got it all back together, like I said. I think I will take some small cable ties and just tidy this up a little bit. I did wind the transformer a little bit to twirl the wires to kind of shorten them. I want to mention this. If you do that, don't twist the wires down here. You want to like cable tie it, hang on to this, and you can kind of twirl the wires above, okay? You don't want to be snapping anything off these, I can tell you that. So, again, you know, take it to a pro if you're not sure what you're doing. Okay, so I think the next step is going to be, while we have this chassis out, I'm going to take some cleaner and I'm going to clean these tube sockets up before we put it back together. And that's probably going to wrap the video up. I'm not going to bore you guys with all the reassembly, putting this back in the chassis. Obviously, you guys can handle that yourself, I'm sure. But there we go. 2 brand new transformers. Everything looks really good. And this should function with all intents and purposes. I don't see any reason why not. Double check everything to make sure. And, you know, you don't want to put this back in and then have to fight to get it back out. It's not easy. You got to go right in square when you put these in, too. There's no room for skewing it or anything like that. So, again, we're going to do one more cleaning here. And I might as well show you how I'm going to do it while we're right here. And then we'll put a pin in this. This is getting to be quite long. Like I said, I don't edit none of this stuff. So, you know, other than pausing the camera, just to change the camera angle, and that's it. So what we got here is a little dental flosser. Kind of looks like a little brush. Just check to make sure these will fit in the tube sockets before you get going, okay? So we're going to take a little cleaner. I'm using Max. You can get this at automotive stores. Works quite nice. So we're just going to give these a nice clean in here and make sure to get all that gunk out of them. After I go around these, what I'll end up doing is turning this upside down and hitting it with some spray. So if there is some stuff that's dislodged, it's going to run out. You know, gravity will take it out of there. So that's pretty much the basics. Just go around every hole. And then, like I said, at the end, take your thing, hold it upside down, hit it with some spray, let it drip out. And then you know if there was anything in there, now it's going out of there, not back into the socket, okay? You know, that is important. I know it sounds like common sense, but that's something that can get overlooked really fast and easy. And like I said, while you have this out, it's a good chance to clean them and get everything ready to go so you don't have to mess around with it once it's back in the amplifier. Well, there you have it, guys. That's how how you remove and install an input and an output transformer in a Fender Blues Junior. Again, I'm not telling you guys to do this. If you don't have any electrical experience, even if you do, this might not be for you, so don't attempt it if you don't know what you're doing. You can get hurt or like killed, obviously. These can hold 500 volts, you know. If you don't know how to drain a capacitor, you should definitely look into that as well. There's little tricks to it, and again, don't take this stuff lightly, guys. Thanks again for watching. I hope this helps, and hopefully your amps stay running and we don't have to go through this, right? But you know what? It does happen sometimes, so you know, they can be fixed. These circuit board amps are a little trickier to fix. You know, stuff's really brittle and really lightly made, so to speak, so it can break really easy. Versus old hand-wired amps where, you know, it's just wires and components, kind of. So they're a lot more pleasurable to work on than these, but these keep the price down. You know, you can get a tube amp really cheap because of this. They're made in factories where they use circuit boards. You know, these get soldered at once. All the components are in it. Boom, it's soldered, it's done. It ain't somebody sitting there, you know, putting each cap in and resistors, that kind of thing. So it is a lot faster process. Is it better? As long as they stay working, I think they're great. But I do hear some tonal differences in hand-wired amplifiers versus circuit board amplifiers. You can call me bad names in the comments section or whatever you'd like to do. Maybe I'll do a shootout sometime and see if I can capture it, you know, audibly so you guys can hear it. It's subtle, but there are some differences. I think the hand-wired amps have a little more bite to them, maybe a little more mid-range. That's me. You know, like I said, don't quote me on everything and don't be mean to me. I'm just trying to pass some information along to you guys, and I really hope it helps. So I'm going to get the rest of these tube sockets cleaned up, and I'm going to clean up the bench, and then I'm going to reassemble the amplifier, and we'll try it out and see if it works. Okay, guys, thanks again for watching. I hope this really helps, and it'll at least give you some idea of what to do and what to look at. That being said, while we're right here, this is the input transformer that was smoking, okay? And there you go. See all this black stuff right here that just chipped off and fell on the bench? This thing, after it immediately started smoking when I turned the amplifier on, I immediately shut it off. And this stayed hot for over a half hour. So if you have an amp that is pouring out smoke out of one of these, get it out of your house, okay? I don't want no one burning their house down or anything either, because that definitely burned, okay? All right, guys, thanks again for watching. Be safe. I just want to make sure that didn't go in the amplifier, right? All right, guys. I'm all done talking. Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate all the support and all the nice comments. All right, guys, be good. We'll see you soon. Okie doke.